everyone. Today we got to play the Staufer Dynasty. So this is a
area control
worker placement thing. It's a game. I got that one down.
It's got a set collection in it.
Yeah, but before we get into it, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and the notification bell because you want to support us and you like board games. So hand in hand. Tell us more about this particular game, Randy.
This came out in 2014. It's got a Board Game Geek ranking of 1165 presently, and a rating of 7.2. It's 2 to 5 players, 90 minutes, age 13 and up. It was designed by Andreas Stedding. Artist was Franz Vollwinkel, and published by Z-Man Games and Hans im Gluck.
Okay. All right, so let's talk about quality of pieces. So this is actually a pretty basic game. There is a little bit of lino finish on the cards. They do seem kind of stiff, though. You do have just meeples. Now, there are Smurfs.
They're shaped, yeah, the meeples are shaped like Smurfs or chefs for your nobles.
Yeah. I don't know why the chefs are nobles, but I feel like I'm playing a cooking game. Not a territory opening game. But other than that, I mean, there's a few cardboard chits. I don't think there's anything absolutely outstanding in this. The victory point tokens are cardboard. You have a little score track that's cardboard. I'm probably going to give this a 6, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, I do like it has a king. The king's pretty cool.
Yeah.
He's got the crown on him. Yeah, I think 6 is probably where I'm at. There's nothing super outstanding.
No, there's nothing super, but all of it's adequate and all of it functions very well. It's just nothing spectacular. So let's talk about overall theme. This could be anything. The meeples don't actually match the theme at all, and it really messes me up. I'm like, are we in gnome land? Are these all gnome lands? I don't think so. Maybe it is. I don't know. I mean, and then, like, I don't know what the cook has to do with anything.
He's not a cook. He's a noble. It's nobles and envoys.
He's got a chef's hat, guys.
He's the noble of Burger Chef. You don't even remember Burger Chef, probably.
I don't know what you're talking about right
Burger
now.
Chef was a restaurant, a fast food restaurant that was around before Burger King was around. It disappeared.
Before I was around. Okay.
It became part of parties, I believe.
All right. So needless to say, a little confused on the theme. I don't think it's very outstanding. I don't think there's a lot here. The art, though, is very pretty. I like the color palette that they did end up choosing. I'm probably going to give this a 6.
Yeah, well, it does have a little background about the actual Staufer Dynasty from the 12th and 3rd centuries.
How they created microwavable meals. Their mac and cheese are amazing.
No, I don't believe they had anything to do with it.
Are you sure?
No. And then they've got some historical facts about the different regions that are on the board as well. So, yeah, that's kind of interesting. But, yeah, apart from that, context, there's no reason this needs to be set in the Staufer Dynasty.
Yeah, so give it a score then, Randy.
Yeah, I mean, the art's pretty plain.
I think it's pretty, though. I love the color palette. That's actually, it's more of that. I like the color palette. But
which color palette? The red, blue, green. The fact that it has purple is really what you're saying. That's what you say color palette. It's the fact that it has purple. I'm going to give it a 6. I can't see giving it.
Well, that's what I gave it, so it's fine. All right, so moving on to actual rules. So I think we have some beef with this. Trying to find out how to break ties in this game.
Well, no, one of them is because it was in there clearly stated how to break ties if you were tying as far as scoring.
Yeah.
What was missing was ties for regions. When you had a region that scored.
Right, there's something that wasn't in the rulebook.
That was not in the rulebook, and we had to go online for it. So yes, I still have a beef with it, but it's not all ties.
Yeah, just some ties.
Yes. So,
but in this game, that's pretty important.
It is definitely important. It should have been in the book. The other thing that was kind of interesting, the book itself, first of all, is 16 pages long.
Holy moly.
But a good chunk of that is set up, and it really didn't need to be that. It stepped you through it detail by detail on how to set it up, but then they give you a cheat sheet that takes care of almost all of it anyway. So the setup was
so the cheat sheet was for the win.
Yeah, the cheat sheet was good for setup. It wasn't good for gameplay, but it was good for setup. But they broke it into color sections for the different actions, which was supply. Basically, you're down to supply or move and deploy. Those are your 2 actions. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of goes into, after that, the scoring of the regions. and the cleanup. So, and it's color coded for each one, and then the game end scoring. So it's laid out nicely, the rule book. The problem is they counted on a auxiliary rule book, which was for detailing what all the cards did, what all the actions of each space could have done.
Well, that's fine.
But yeah, but it would basically have icons that say, go look it up in that each time you would hit one. It had an eyeball and it would tell you to go look at that. So it was kind of an odd choice, but it did make it a nice cheat sheet during the game for the reference for the cards. So I can see why they did it. It was just kind of odd when you're reading the rules to have those things left out of the rules. So this would have been really a longer rule book if it had the content that it should have had in it.
Give a score.
I'm going to give it a 6.5. I think their choices of how they decided to design it made it awkward to learn the game. It wasn't that hard of a game. And it was just a matter of trying to find the rule that you needed, because it was scattered between two rule books or online in one case.
I think that's a really big gap of the fact that you have to look online to be able to actually play the game. That's pretty rough.
Yeah.
So I agree with your assessment. So moving on to actual gameplay. This where it gets a little bit, you say it was easy, and I guess it is, but it's, I think, a little bit hard to explain, and maybe that was the problem they had. So basically you have these stack of workers, and so the first one up top gets to go first, and that's how you do player order, and depending on the actions you take the previous round, that will determine your player order when you go into it. So blue is up first. So blue has a set of workers. He can do a couple of things. He can choose to get more workers over here on this track here. He can go here, pick whichever icon he wants with a particular treasure chest underneath if it's still available.
Well, that's the supply action.
Yes.
You may or may not get workers on the supply depending on which action you take.
Right, because there is a non-worker one, but most of them do give you workers. And then the other action that you could take, obviously, is actually to place your workers. So depending on where the king is located, you have to pay the cost to travel. So if I wanted to play over here on this one, I would have to place one worker from the king to get there on each section. Okay, so that would be 2. And then I would have to pay right here. There's a number here. It says 5. So I would have to pay 5 workers. So I would put 1 worker down. All right, and then I would have to, so that's 1, but it tells me to pay 5. So I'd have to take 4 more and drop them off around the thing. So then, because I got this token, I would get the treasure chest underneath, which gets me a special ability or different victory points, or a collection set or workers. It just depends on what you're gathering. So you take that, you can use that at any time while it's your turn, and then you can keep going forward. And then the next would be the next action, whoever's next. Okay, so that keeps on happening until obviously you're out of workers and the game ends, and then you go into scoring. So scoring is based on a kind of a puzzle that you created at the beginning of the game.
Yeah, you set it up at the beginning with 3 pieces. One is the region, one is the condition, and one is basically the cleanup at the end of the round. Mm-hmm. Which the only difference on the cleanup tiles, except for the last one, which is your in-game scoring, is how much the king moves at the end of the round. So you're going to have a 5 of those out for the game, because there's 5 rounds in the game and 3 actions per round for your players. And once you finish them, you're going to do the cleanup phase, which basically the 2 regions or up to 2 regions that get scored will have the workers that are in the action spaces removed from the board back to the provinces. This game actually utilizes a system similar to one of my favorite games, El Grande, where it has a court, which is your active workers, and then a province area, which is your workers that you can take from. And those move from the province to the court, just like in El Grande. They're called the same thing in El Grande, so it's a very similar and reminiscent of that.
I don't remember this game.
Oh, well, I almost got that one out. So this was actually turned out, I was happy that this actually coincidentally happened to be very similar to El Grande as far as the play of it. And then you have the condition will tell you which region gets scored, and the name of one of the regions is the one that's named, and the other one meets the condition. If those 2 happen to be the same, you will only score 1 region because you can't score the region twice.
That's what they said. Yeah, that's pretty much the basis of the game. I mean, the things I liked about it, I thought it was an okay game. I thought it was a cute, well, not cute. It's a little more in depth than cute. It is a bit of an area control game. You drop off workers. Is it high on my list to play again? No. If someone brings it out, will I play it again? Yes. I would probably give this game a 7. I think that's where it kind of belongs, at least for me. What do you think?
Well, I like this style of game. I like, first of all, I really thought it was a unique mechanism with the turn order. I thought that was really cool.
I did think that was actually pretty unique. Yeah.
I had not seen anything like that in another game. I always give points for the fact that it has unique mechanisms. Apart from that, it reminds me a lot of El Grande, but I like El Grande better. It had the feel of, some of this was felt very much like El Grande, but you don't have any player interaction other than blocking by taking spaces. In El Grande, there's a lot more screw your opponent type elements to it, which are more interactive.
Which I might pay without, but.
But you also have some neat scoring distinctions in that one from this. I thought it was kind of limiting as far as the king being where you start, because it's really hard to get enough workers to get around.
It was very difficult and very costly.
You almost have to only play 2 workers per round and actually use the supply once per round to get enough workers.
And towards the end, though, I mean, that was even hard to do. Like, I actually sat around out and just got workers because I wanted to make that the round before last really count. And in that case, I scored all of the scoring where you guys didn't, because you were out of workers. So it's just interesting about, because the thing is like, so when the king moves, so say he moves 3 based on the thing, you get all the workers that he goes through. You get those back. But at the end of the game, so the next round he only takes 2, and then the last 3 he only takes 1.
That was just random.
That was random. Okay, well the last 3 in this one, last 2, he only moved one space, which really, really hurt, because like the workers. Whew.
He wanted to get a little prod on that king, like cattle prod out. Go, move.
Yeah, 1 more space, please. I need those workers. Yeah. So it was kind of hard because you know, depending on where you wanted to play, where you're going to get those workers back in time, there's a bunch of things in there that was involved. I feel like I wish there was a little more meat to it or something different, because it just seemed kind of it's the appropriate length, because any longer it would have been boring. Yeah. And I think I had a problem because I went first in one round and last in the other, because the way the place.
So it was a long time.
So it was a long time. Like I'm halfway done with the hat.
Yeah. The one thing that I did not like about it was the iconography for the scoring on the board. There's built-in scoring on these boards, but you almost have to use the reference sheet to know how to score it, because it doesn't tell you. Like, some of them are first, whoever gets first player or first versus second in the area, and some of them are based on just being present in the area. Yeah. And some of them are, it's just, it would have been nice to have had some way of knowing that while you're doing the scoring. And there was no way, I would still, like, if I played this again, have to use that reference sheet every time if I wanted to know.
So what'd you score it?
I'm probably a 7.5. I liked it a little better than you did, I think. Because I like area control games more than you do. And I like the fact that it reminds me of El Grande, but it makes me want to play El Grande all the more. So I think 7.5 is where I'm at.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for joining us. Hopefully you had a fun time, and hopefully we'll catch you guys again later. We'll see you.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.